the big W's of the presidency right now. We have to get to some good news.
Yeah.
So the border is obviously like a 94% decrease in illegal crossings. It's effectively sealed now, miraculously. The deportations, he's getting some good court victories. If you had a top three of Trump's successes that you would want to highlight so that people don't get bogged down in the negative, what would they be?
The border, definitely the border, 100%. In fact, the fact that this week they reported that border crossings have reached the lowest level in recorded American history is exactly what we voted for. And it's phenomenal news. I love seeing that. Deportations have been, I think, a success story. Obviously, people when they want mass deportations, they want a higher pace than this. And that includes people within the White House. Stephen Miller wants a minimum of 3,000 deportations a day. I want to say about a week ago or so, I think I heard Tom Homan say they were up to 2,000 a day. They're moving. And I like that they're moving on all these dangerous criminals first, getting as many of them out of the country as possible. I like the theater of the deportations. I think the images are really important to achieving something else, which is self-deportation. So when you're sending people to Guantanamo Bay, when you're sending them to Alligator, Alcatraz, when you're sending them off to El Salvador, you show videos of guys getting their heads shaved, those gangsters who get sent to El Salvador. The effect of that is you're watching as a lot of people are looking at the news, and even if they're just kind of picking up some of the basic details, not the specifics of who's been targeted here, they're going, you know what? I just went the easy way. Why don't I just go back to my home country? And they jump on the CBP home app, they register, and they get out. And the effect of that has already led to some estimates say over 1 million people have self-deported from the United States. That's what you want. When Eisenhower was doing these deportations in the middle of the last century, for every one government deportation, they had 10 self-deportations going on. That's what the Trump administration, I'm sure, is aspiring to, and they should go to there. So yes, while I think they're doing amazing things, we always want more. We always want more. On the economy has been great. The upside of the economy is that more native-born Americans are getting jobs and foreigners are not. That's a change in patterns from where we were with Biden. It was all going to foreign-born workers. Native-born Americans were getting the shaft in all of those jobs reports. Wages are outpacing the rise in prices in the United States for the first time in a long time. That's a very, very big thing because that means American families are more likely to be able to afford what they need to get by. And in a world where credit card debt's gone to over $1 trillion, you got to figure out something.
To go back actually to the jobs, because some people, I say the naysayers want to say, well, the jobs reports are not as good as they should be. But Robert Barnes, our Sunday night show, he was drawing that very same distinction. See where the jobs are going and going to American citizens.
Yeah.
So the stats offhand, I don't know what they are, but how is that reflect? Like what is the increase in American citizens getting the jobs that had hitherto been going to, I don't know, H-1B1 visas or whatever?
I don't have all the numbers in front of me. One of my favorite people is my economist, E.J. Antoni. He's also my cousin, but he's a great dude. He's one of the best economists on the right. We talk about this a lot, and it's the private sector. That's where everything is happening. Understand what happened in the Biden era when they gave you these jobs reports. They were like, look at all the jobs we added.
Public sector jobs. There
was a lot of government jobs and a lot of part-time private sector jobs. People were stacking up part-time jobs to make ends meet. They were taking multiple jobs. And so they get double counted in the jobs numbers, and then people will say, oh, look, we added all these jobs. No, it's the same person taking a bunch of gigs in order to figure out a way to pay for their life. That we're seeing a reversal of those trends. Full-time jobs are growing again in the United States of America. And if you have a full-time job, that comes with benefits. That comes with a better ability to take care of your family. And so all these trends are headed in the absolute right direction. The economic press was all, again, rooting against Trump here, claiming things were going to be miserable. The tariff fight has resulted in success. We haven't seen a rampant increase in inflation as a result. We see jobs reports heading in the right direction. And the president's obligation is clearly to the people who voted for him and to this country. And that really means taking care of native-born Americans first. So I love the story right now. And I think it deserves way more appreciation. But you know how this stuff goes. It's like even the people who love Trump, in the media, you always look for the next dragon to slay. Not everybody likes reflecting on the wins, but I think it's worthwhile.
Okay, fantastic. The big, beautiful bill got passed. It had the good, the bad, and the ugly. I remember I was listening to you while I was jogging in Central Florida, dodging black bears. Literally, I ended up seeing a big mother bear with like milk in her boobs with two babies, but we were in the car. But I was listening to you talk about that. So pros and the cons about the one big, beautiful bill that has now passed. I mean, what's your take? Overall net positive, or
Oh,
Not enough.
I think it's a massive victory. This was never a close call to me. I get it, the concerns about AI regulation, and they were able to strip some of that stuff out. There's definitely going to be things that you can pick apart about the legislation that you're not going to love, but just the top line items, the fact that they made permanent the Trump tax cuts, that's not a small thing. And I don't know, and I think what's going to happen is there's not going to be Americans who maybe necessarily appreciate it, because what it means for them in a lot of ways is that their taxes are going to be similarly low next year. But it would have meant a 22% tax hike. People would have paid 22% more in taxes next year if they didn't extend these things permanently. They did, thank God. They brought in a bunch of tax cuts for other categories. No tax on tips. Again, all these things they phase out at a certain level, but fundamentally, there's massive amounts of the country is not going to pay taxes on tipped earnings, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security. That's going to make a material difference in the lives of a lot of people. So on the economic side, I love it. And then on the immigration enforcement side, I love it. I just think it's great. Look, they are building not just one border wall. Rand Paul kind of came in and he was like, what? They're spending too much money on the border wall. And then he brought up some kind of old estimate from some old report from literally almost 20 years ago and 15 years ago that claimed that it would be a very small amount of money. He was talking about a limited, just pedestrian border wall. That was it. I looked into it, what he was talking to. I wanted to look at what he claimed to see if there was anything to support it. What Trump is talking about is very different. Not only is it pedestrian barriers, it's vehicular barriers, it's in the water barriers in the Rio Grande, it's roads to support border patrol and all of the needs that they have as the technology to lock down that border. They're investing real money in a real durable policy that can't just be reversed with the stroke of a pen. The beauty of a border wall is that another follow-on president of a different political party can't come in and just erase it with an executive order. It's there. You've got to tear it down. You got to get the money to tear it down. So that thing stays, and that's good news. And then the biggest thing is the deportations. They're adding 10,000 ICE agents. 10,000 ICE agents, which is a dramatic increase in size of that agency. And that gets us closer to the whole point that people voted for this guy, which is, of course, the economic wins and getting control of our country again, and making it one in which if you invade it, you get deported.
Okay, so we've got the mistakes, which we covered, the wins, which are, I think, unfortunately might have gotten not as much attention as they deserve. The not room for improvement, but next on the list. Like, if I'll lead you to this one, because this is sort of one of the things I would love to see in the next, year, 2, 3, is not weaponizing the legal system against anybody, but rather going after those who had weaponized the system against Trump.
Yes.
I mean, we got, and if it's a criticism, I don't think it's a criticism. It's just hey, don't forget about this. To go after the Leticia James. There's another story now about Adam Schiff allegedly having committed the same mortgage fraud as Leticia James-ish. Oddly enough, exactly what they accused Trump of, found him guilty of. What do you want to see next on the to-do list that has yet to do? Done.
Accountability. I completely agree. Accountability. And what that means is you have to prosecute people who break our laws. We don't play the game like the left does. We don't make it up. We just base it on what actually happened. That's the trick here. And so today, I think we're getting sort of the seminal moments of this appearing in public. Just before you and I started talking, the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, began declassifying massive tranches of information dating back now a decade to the Trump-Russia collusion hoax and how all of that got cooked up. I haven't seen all the headlines out of that yet. One of them that clearly came out is that the intelligence community knew that Russia had no meaningful impact on the election, yet they were withholding that from the public, creating theater that Trump and Russia had colluded. These are all important details. And the reason they're important is not merely an old fact-finding mission to satisfy your curiosities. The reason they're important is because John Solomon and Paul Sperry, both talented reporters in their own right, have been reporting that there is a grand conspiracy investigation going on at the FBI. And in order to hold people accountable for violations of the law that happened many years ago, the only way that can work outside of normal statute of limitations concerns is if you establish that it's a part of an ongoing criminal conspiracy. And the statute of limitations runs from the last overt act of the conspiracy, which could very well include Jack Smith's attempts to go after President Trump, including in Florida. And here's the big piece of that. The fact that they went after him in Florida opens up the possibility that a grand jury can be impaneled there and not in Washington, D.C. because the way that so much of the court rigging process has occurred in the past is you do all the juicy stuff in DC because it's a guarantee to go after Trump. It doesn't even matter that it's fake. It's a guarantee that in a city where 95% of the people vote for the Democrats every single time, there's no way Trump walks away without a conviction, an indictment and a conviction. So we've got some possibilities here. And this gets back to kind of where we started, honestly. You think about if Dan Bongino is going to stick around as deputy director of the FBI, if Kash Patel is going to keep plugging away on these issues, which he's been obsessed with since the moment they started, he's been the victim. He's been pursued by a tyrannical government. If these guys are going to make it worth it and they're going to establish legacies that they can be proud of, I think it's very much going to include these issues. And so I'm looking forward to see what they do next.
Yeah, it was Patel mentioned it, the statute of limitations for perjury, but then also did mention the conspiracy caveat to that, which can allow it to continue running. And I appreciate that a lot of us want results, not just yesterday, but at least immediately fast enough. And then the excuse is, well, some things take time, and everybody is too used to understanding that to mean takes time. Never happens because people forget about it.
Yeah, and you're right to be frustrated. It's okay. I think that's totally right. I'm frustrated. I keep saying we've seen a lot of planes take off. Very few have landed. I want this bad boy to land. That's all. I want one of them to land, and it's got to make a big splash. I want John Brennan in pinstripes. I want a mugshot of these people because these guys, whether it's on this case or anything else, John Brennan, the former head of the CIA, he lied about spying on the United States Senate. He lied about it. Straight up. And the CIA is not supposed to be spying on the United States Senate. They're supposed to be working on behalf to go after our adversaries, to gather intel on them. James Clapper lied about spying on the American people in the Congress. He straight up lied about it, that they were gathering all this information on the United States. This just keeps happening over and over. And so, yeah, people are frustrated because they're sick to death of no accountability for people who keep on wielding their power in a tyrannical way. And if these guys can nail any of them, I'll be the first to cheer them on.